Good morning. Welcome to the Baptiste Show. The name is Roberto Baptiste. Always a pleasure to be with you guys here. Thank you again for watching, but also listening to the podcast at any hour of the day, whenever you're listening to the podcast. Today, we are very fortunate to have a very special young man with us, Kenolson Colin, who's in our studio. We will be conducting multiple interviews throughout this show talking to local business folks and decision makers. But Colin is a treat for those of you that are in the business world that are entrepreneurs. So I'm looking forward to this interview. Colin, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you for answering the call. So we're gonna have this conversation. We don't know who's listening or watching. What we hope for that at the end of the day, whatever words of wisdom you might be offering, it's gonna impact at least one individual that's listening or watching this podcast. Man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who's Kenolson Colin?
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me. Of course, for those that don't know me, my name is Kenolson Colin. Goes around town by the name of KendollVisuals. One of Orlando's upcoming and pretty popular photographer. Been in the business for a good 7 years now, so I do have a little bit of insight of what it's like to run your own business and not only run it but try to maintain it. Because many times it's easy for us to come up with an idea of how to, get the business started, but we don't have the end goal in mind on how to maintain the financials, the marketing, and stuff like that. So I've been in that space for a while now. Graduated college in 2019 in business finance, and actually soccer player as well. One of my ex coaches. So it's always a good vibe, and happy to be here.
Man, Colin, you've done so much, but you're still so young. It's always amazing to discuss business with you, discuss life with you. And I thought, folks that are out there watching the show, listening to the podcast, can really benefit from it. But let's dive a little bit into that. You said folks know you by Kendall Visual. How did you come up with the Kendall Visual? How did you know you wanted to be a photographer, let alone make it make a living out of the business of photography?
Like they always say, if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. And how that started for me was back in high school, actually. I found an interest in making fun of people. Not people, but the soccer team that I was on. We had this tradition every day at midnight. We would roast each other. you know. And I wasn't so good at telling jokes, but the only way I could through it was through pictures. So I went and learned how to do special effect editings. Used to put certain heads on certain animals, do funny effects. So that route, I started finding enjoyment in it, and I
Nice.
explored it further, and it made people happy and smile, and that's something that really hit me. And I decided to explore it, and here we are today.
That is quite interesting. So, folks, you never know where your next greatest idea might come from. Something that started out as a fun way of connecting a team, a soccer team. Because we're gonna get into that a little bit. I know you played for Oak Ridge High School, one of the best teams Oak Ridge High School had. I have to
Yes.
throw that shout out there. So, you started out just really pranking each other, and then here you are years
Correct.
later running a photography business. What do your teammates say? Do they ask you for their share of the revenue for inspiring you for that business?
It's always very interesting when they come to the studio. We laugh, have a good time, and we always reminisce on how everything started.
Yeah,
It's always good to have their support as well,
yeah,
and it's always a blessing when the people you started this life with, pretty much as a young age, are still together pretty strong and showing their support. But it's always pretty funny because we talk about the good old times when, at times, even our coach got involved and he got his own treatment.
nice, nice, nice. But Kole, I would go back again. We're gonna stay in the beginning stages before you were even a business person or thinking you were gonna venture in the business world. You played soccer, right?
Yes.
What impact would you say playing soccer at a competitive level had on your future before you even thought about college? What impact did that have on you playing social sports at such a high level?
Probably had the biggest impact in my entire life, and which is why if we have any parents watching today, I advise please sign up your kids, sign up the young people that you care about, encourage them to go try competitive sports, because not only they get to have fun, of course, because as a kid that's important, but it teaches them discipline, it teaches them resiliency, not to give up when things get hard, And those aspects of my life helped me shape the business and helped me shape myself into who I am today.
Man, what a great insight. What a great insight. Because again, resiliency is key. It's not a matter of if life is gonna throw a
It's
curveball
when.
at you, it's when, right?
Yes.
So as a result, if you don't know how to combat adversity and overcome that, it's gonna be tough for you out there. And I got to share this story with people that are watching and listening. Colin started out as a goalkeeper. To me, one of the best goalkeepers I've seen. And at the time, he was quite athletic. I don't know if he can even run these days, but he was so athletic. And then you taught yourself how to play a field position, meaning you wanted to move away from being a goalkeeper.
Correct.
Tell us about that. How do you took on that challenge and self improvement? How did you go about from I'm a goalkeeper, I want to do more, I want to be a field player? What went through your mind? How did that go?
Very interesting story. I actually got put in goalkeeper first and foremost because I was pretty athletic. I could jump up through the roof, but also I couldn't really play like that. Every
Yeah.
time I tried, I had the will, but the body just wasn't, in line, parallel with it. So I took it as a challenge that I don't care how long it took, how difficult it was. I was going to teach myself how to play and I was going to compete at the highest level one day. So I felt like once I reached the collegiate level, I was pretty proud of myself because I made it happen.
And Cole is being humble on how he made this happen, but this dude literally went learn how to play one of the toughest position in soccer, which is winger, by playing FIFA, doing a lot of one-on-one
Correct.
individual drill. How do you go from like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to play soccer, just learning in FIFA? Like that's crazy. No one would think of such a creative, innovative way to learn something and really apply it to realistic situations. What light bulb hit you when you decided to do that?
Um, I always advise people that play FIFA, don't just play it for fun, but actually, especially if you're a soccer player, play it to develop your game, because it's pretty much a virtual reality where you get to control the players, where you get to try moves that normally in real life would get you benched. And that's actually how I learned majority of the skills and the mindset and IQ that I've obtained in soccer was by playing and analyzing. Okay, if I do this, can I have a chance to penetrate the opponent? Or if I cross it this way, does it open up the field?
Yeah.
So by being a very good FIFA player and really try to master it, helped me in real life a lot. And sometimes it makes you look at other players a certain way, like, why are you acting this way? Can't you just pass it and it's gonna lead to a goal?
Yeah.
And FIFA helped a lot.
And folks, I wanted to share that story with you because in life you got to adapt, you got to adjust. A lot of it is self-learning, but you have people around you that believe in you. But this young man believed in himself and believed he had more to contribute. And here's the best part: you ended up going to college on a scholarship almost, not for goalkeeping, but for field player, man. How did that feel when you got that news that okay, you got selected to go to this school to play soccer, not just to go and attend class, basically? Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Felt amazing because that was one of the first biggest milestone for me as an immigrant, legal immigrant to be specific. I came to the U.S. Obviously, I had a goal, and I accomplished it, and that truly opened up a whole lot of possibilities for me, not just physically but mentally, and opened my mind to having a whole different set of beliefs that anything you put your mind to, you could accomplish. So that was really important for me. And from there, I kind of spread my wings and was not afraid to dream big and to work on things, no matter how difficult it may seem to people.
Nice, nice. Because again, teaching yourself to reach that milestone was it felt amazing because you ended up going to college. You were finance business major basically,
Correct.
and you came out. I know your parents were proud. So now here you are, real life. You've done all these things. By the way, anecdotal story: when he came back now, and I want him to play goalkeeper for me, he was like, "No, coach, I don't play goalkeeper no more." Just so you guys know. So
I
now
know how
you are
to play
field,
now.
yeah, you're a field player, and in the real life came. You did not go and try to find a job. How did that go? That you know what? I want to keep doing this photography thing that I've been doing throughout high school and then throughout college. How did you go? Like, okay, now it's time to be an entrepreneur. I need to do this for myself by myself, basically.
Yes, obviously, as players, we all have dreams to make it big, but part of being wise is when you have to realize that real life happens.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything will work out in your favor. And unfortunately, injuries got to me, and the knees weren't as young as they were. They weren't as fast as they used to be, and I had to be realistic with myself. But giving credit back to soccer once more, it teaches you that even when things don't go your way, keep on fighting.
Yes, sir.
Even if you don't get that starting spot, keep on fighting, keep on knocking at the door. And I wasn't gonna let that get me down. So I went out there and I set a new challenge ahead of me, and I'm still facing it, and I'm still succeeding at it, and I'm still fighting for it.
Nice, nice. So when you came out of college, it was never, let me go look for a job, clock in, da da da, and everything else. It was okay. I'm gonna do Kendall Visual, and I'm gonna do it big. Was that the mindset, or it just life pushed you that way?
It was always the mindset that I don't want to go at life the easy route. I love a challenge because, like they always say, what's worth having is never easy. And if it was easy, everyone would have done it.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of people take the easiest route, go find a job, but in reality, it's easy for a reason, and we are capable of being much more, especially as athletes that's been through basically hell, having to endure fitness training, having to endure games,
Cold
situations,
weather.
cold weather,
Yeah.
hot, warm
Yeah,
weather,
warm weather.
being down 1-0 with 5 minutes on the clock,
Yeah.
and we have to win to pursue the next step. So I was ready for the challenge, and I felt like I had the necessary background, resiliency, and activities I've done throughout the years to back it up.
Nice. So now you came out, you formed up an LLC. Walk us through it. So when did you decide to formally do this as a business? What were some of the things you did? Some of the pros and cons of doing it the way you did it? Basically, what did you do when you came out of college and trying to do this as a business?
Yes, coming out of college, I, I was doing it, but I had to be real and acknowledge that now life starts.
Yeah.
What once was a hobby, what once was something I did for fun, I had to start taking it seriously. Um, One of the few steps that I did, and I always advise people, is put your products out there first. And I know sometimes, especially the Haitian community, we want to reach the top before taking the stair up. And it's literally virtually impossible to get to the second floor if you don't either take an elevator
Yes, sir.
or if you don't take the staircase or escalator.
Mm-hmm.
One of the steps I took were I did a lot of free shoots to expose my products, and did a lot of free shoots to expose my products. Um, Invited, gave out a lot of business cards, and I even told them I was willing to give a discount rate because the goal was not to reach the milestone today. It was to build the foundation, the exposure, to eventually get to the situation where I can be known, where my products have a chance of reaching out to people.
Interesting. So you let people sample your photography before you even went, okay, this is how much I'm charging for this.
Bingo. And back to my point where I said we cannot sometimes as business owners expect to reach the promised land before we even walk through the desert. That way, that's not a wise mindset to have.
Yeah.
Because not only will you be disappointed because you're not being real with yourself, but you could miss out on big what ifs. You know.
Very interesting, and I'm glad you're pointing that out because oftentimes people that want to be entrepreneurs, they want to wait for the perfect conditions. Meaning, I need to have $50,000 in the bank. I need to have 6 months of leave for my job. I need to have this office space that's 5,000 square feet. I need to have an assistant. No, it's not gonna happen that
No,
way.
it's not gonna happen.
I mean, from a business perspective, I can attest to what Colin is saying. Sometimes you got to put yourself out there, put your product out there. That's what they call the beta phase. iPhone did it. Everybody that's big, at some point, they started, they realized what is it that they failed at, obviously with a plan.
Bingo.
They tweaked it, and then come the final product. And it's never the final product because you're always tweaking it, right?
Yes.
So, very interesting. So now, 7 years on, I want you to kind of take a look back during those last 7 years. What advice would you give Colin starting out 7 years ago that you've picked up right now so that our viewers and our listeners can benefit from that insight? If you were to go back to yourself 7 years ago, what route did you take? You'd be like, maybe try it this way. Not that you have regrets, but something that might have been different for you that you would do differently.
Um, One of the biggest, not just business, but life lesson I would give myself is hard work beats talent any day.
Mhm.
And no matter what you want to do in life, with hard work, you can accomplish. You might be naturally gifted at drawing, but if somebody else spent 3 years learning the basics, learning the geometry, learning the brush sizes, etc., I guarantee you they will outdo you. So that would be my best advice I'd give to myself. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And you guys probably heard that saying before. In terms of Kendall Visual, I would have told myself, don't hesitate to dream big,
Yeah.
as long as you can back it up with the stop hours of studying, non-stop hours of learning, the books, the audios, the YouTube tutorials. I would have told myself, don't be afraid to dream big, but dreaming without actions are just empty fantasies.
Yeah.
Be sure to back it up. Hard work will eventually pay off.
So you would definitely want your younger self to put in the work ethics behind that big dream to fuel it, basically.
Yes, work twice as hard rather
Nice.
than just going with the flow just because you have the talent and you have the
Yeah.
capacity for it.
And this is what's interesting, folks. Some of you don't know. This is a young man that was a competitive soccer athlete. He played the piano. He's involved in the church. He's involved in so many things. Yet he would have worked twice as hard to make this dream happen. That's
Correct.
fantastic to hear. That is fantastic to hear. So now we are here now, Kendall Visual. What are you focusing most in as a photographer? Let's dive into the photography aspect of it, and then we'll get to the business side again. What is your main focus as a photographer? What do you try to offer as your services or your product, really?
As a photographer, the main products that I'm pushing out right now are weddings. I'm trying to target a lot of the newlyweds audience. And now more than ever, I think the earth has reached its peak in population and newborn babies, actually. So I'm trying to target those two markets, weddings and newborn babies, because I feel like it's a market that's never ending.
Nice.
And if I can successfully put my imprint in there, I should be okay.
So, folks, I'm gonna do the shameless plug form. If you're getting married soon, you gotta reach out to Kendall Visual. If you are having a newborn, you gotta reach out. By the way, you gotta do your maternity shoot, and then you gotta do, your newborn shoot with him.
Correct.
So that's plenty of business. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's very smart right there. So please, you're gonna have his info at the bottom of this video. Make sure you reach out, follow him on Instagram and everything else. But we're gonna continue on with this interview. Colin's with us. You're watching the Baptiste Show. It's such a great pleasure to receive business folks here and have a conversation with them. But it's even more so when it's a young man of Colin's age that's doing so much already, yet you can still the hunger, the passion to give back. So he's giving back today by talking about some of his successes, failures, things he would do differently. So now, you mentioned that market. You're still learning, you're still doing a lot of self-study and whatnot. Um, how did you realize, okay, whatever you were doing before, it's time to shift into a new niche, basically? What cues did you take from the market to go, okay, I need to go into wedding and newborns now?
Yes, like you mentioned earlier, as a business owner, we should consider every day or all of our products has a bunch of betas, meaning we have to be willing to take the criticism, to take the self reflections, to take the self improvement, to know that okay, the product could be fine now, but there's always room for improvement. And one of the realizations I had was I wasn't involved in the newborn market like that. And certain times they would reach out to me, I would simply refer them to somebody else. Not that there's anything wrong with
Yeah.
it, but as a business owner, as a human being in general, you gotta always be willing to accept the challenge and to open up your mind to newer and bigger opportunities. So that's why I was ready to tap in that market and put in the necessary work and hours of studying to be able to survive in it.
Nice, nice. Okay, very good, Colin. Now, obviously, you have the structure of the business. Do you have a LLC or like,
Correct.
okay, you have a LLC. You set up the bank account. You're
Correct.
paying taxes and everything
Correct.
else. This is what pays your bills.
Correct. On a
How do
month-to-month
you
basis.
exactly? So how do you differentiate between the fun part and the business part? Because a photography business is so different because you have the calling, the passion. You want to put that best product out there. How do you tell yourself, I am not going to spend 10 hours editing this picture because that's not wise. It's going to take too much of my time. this product is good enough? How do you arrive to that balance, basically, between business and that art form of photography?
Um, I'd probably say throughout the years and experience, it makes it easier, much, much easier. The same way they say certain things become muscle memories. So certain projects that used to take me 2 hours now probably take me 45 minutes.
Got it.
And I always give this advice: try not to lose the passion. Don't let the money, don't let the fame, don't let the workload ever let you lose the passion. Because once you reach that stage, it no longer it no longer becomes something you love. And when you don't love something, you start doing it unethically.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and whatever you do right in life, the universe will repay you tenfold.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I got a story to tell on that. And this is not just empty words from Colin. When we were setting up this studio, one of the first people I reached out to was you. And without hesitation, this man sent me cards of Instagram things that I might need. Took time out of his day to do the research and everything else. And man, what a blessing that was. So I want to thank you publicly for that.
So it's a
And that,
pleasure.
of course, so people understand not because you reach the mountaintop, so to speak, that you stop looking back. So that make us want to give back as well to the next person that's starting their own studio, their own podcasting vlog, and whatever it is. Because again, we know someone took the time to invest in the vision, the idea that we had to serve this community. So I want to take the moment to say that out loud. Thank you, man. You're always giving back. You're not afraid to give back your time. Obviously, you got to balance things out. So thank you. Now, guys, we are talking to Colin about Kendoll Visual and how he's set up his business. What would you say today is your biggest challenge, and how do you navigate that to change things over the near future,
Um,
business wise?
Business wise, I'll probably say the biggest challenge wouldn't necessarily deal with the tangible. It would probably be the mental part of it. Because as an entrepreneur, it's very taxing on your mental health. It's very uncertain that every month you have to think about bills, of course. You have to think about, okay, my products have to be sold. There's certain math that have to be met and certain, milestones. I'll probably say the biggest challenge still this day is just having that reinsurance that okay, everything will be okay for the month, because you always have that little fear that what if my products isn't sold enough to cover certain expenses,
Yeah.
or what if I don't get the proper exposure, because we don't get the luxury of clocking in for somebody else. We have to clock in for ourselves, and we have to bring in the revenue for ourselves.
So, with that, would you say the discipline and faith are key ingredient to solving it?
Correct. Discipline and faith. Because if you don't have no faith in yourself, that's already the first recipe for disaster as an entrepreneur. You have to first have faith, and you have to stay in constant, constant application and constant improvement,
Yeah.
constant actions.
That's very important, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you might feel, oh man, I put this beautiful ad out there on Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and I was supposed to get at least 4 or 5 bookings from it, and then it's like 2 weeks on and cricket,
Still no
right?
bookings.
Cricket, nothing, no bookings. You have to have the faith that okay, I know this ad is good enough. What do I need to tweak? Let me keep working at it, and then try to keep pushing it. Because if you don't have that faith, it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Which dates back to one of the things I'm grateful for playing competitive sports, which is resiliency, because it teaches you that when things get difficult, they don't go your route. Because we gotta remember, we live in a very complex universe that we can't even begin to comprehend, even if we try to.
Yeah.
But if we just keep on going, keep on pushing, eventually we will open that door that we keep on knocking at.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great advice, brilliant advice. So now, you've said what new products you have, and and whatnot. But again, we want to stick to the business theme of this interview here. If some young man, young woman, come out the gate and said, "Hey, I'm in high school. I'm listening to this interview and this podcast vlog here. I want to pick up a camera and start doing photography. I don't know where to begin. What are some advice you want to give that young person on how to start basically enjoying photography before they even think of making it into a business? What are some things you want them to pick up or do to develop as a skills or something like that when it comes to photography?"
definitely best piece of advice I would give them would be to be ready to learn, to go in there for the right reason, and not just look at the look at the income, but
Mm-hmm.
rather look at what can you give them of value. Because when you give a service of value, it automatically reciprocate the benefits that come with it. So
Nice.
don't think so much of, okay, photographers do make a decent amount of money, but rather think of, okay, how can I be different from the rest? How can I lose the laziness
Mm-hmm.
and actually do the required works, the required studying
Mm-hmm.
to be at a position where people can value my work and
Mm-hmm.
they actually are secured when they book with you that they'll get the products I was promised.
Nice, nice. So basically, invest in yourself first and
Invest in
foremost.
yourself and your
That's
knowledge.
the key, and the knowledge, right?
Yes,
Because you're selling that service. It's not like you're printing T-shirts and selling T-shirts, which you still need to invest in yourself. But
correct.
there's nothing physical yet about the process. So I love that.
Yes.
Now, in terms of cameras, let's do some fun stuff. What's like the best camera you've worked with? And keep in mind, we're not endorsing any cameras. We're just putting that out there for you. What works for you, basically?
Probably the best camera I've come across would be one of the red cameras,
Okay.
and unfortunately, it was a rental because those red cameras varies from $9,000 to over 100 plus. I can't even put a value on what they range to on the upper side,
Opposite of.
but from a good 9,000 to over 100 plus.
Well, hopefully, business will be really good in 2024 and you can afford two or three of those. That's the
Hopefully,
faith we want to have in this process, right?
yes.
Now, Colin, what's the most fun shoot that you love to do? I know you said you're trying to tap into maternity and weddings, but what's the most fun shoot you've done so far? You're really like, man, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this, basically.
Um, Most likely events.
Events,
It
okay.
has to be events because not only the amount of work versus the amount of pay you get is very good.
Hmm.
But it's also good that you get to interact with different people. You get to learn different cultures,
Nice,
different way of lives that normally I would have never encountered if it wasn't for photography in my business.
nice, very nice. Person that impacted, influenced your life the most thus far? Who would that person be?
It has to be my father.
I knew that was coming, right?
And obviously not just my father, and has to be my coaches as well. And Mr. Roberto is
No,
one of
no,
them.
no, no. Let's go back to your dad, man. He's such a special individual, and the relationship you have with him. I'm gonna put you on the spot because every time he talks about his father, he beams. By the way, just so you guys know, and that's the special relationship. His father will always be at the games as well, man. Let's talk about your dad a little bit. What makes your dad so special to you, aside from the regular stuff as well? So, tell me a little bit about him.
Um, I know it's cliche to say because everybody does, but I do believe I do have one of the best fathers out there because he is the prime definition of leading by example. At a young age, he came basically gave up his life, his dreams, just so he could come to the U.S. Many dads could have easily came here, went a different route,
Hmm.
but instead he worked hard, slept on the floor, did undercover jobs to accumulate enough, and eventually he came back down and took us out from Haiti and gave us an opportunity here, which I'll forever be grateful. And he always wants us to do better than he
Yeah.
has. He opened up whole doors of opportunities to show us that more is out there,
Yeah.
to not just settle for what is in front of the eye, but to always be able to leap forward to see more.
What a wonderful man. What a wonderful man. And I wanted to share that with you guys because it's important to have strong role model. But when you have a dad like Colin's dad, I can see why you're such a confident young man, such an accomplished and resilient young man. And I want to thank your dad for that because every time I interact with you and hear the stuff coming out of your mouth, I'm like, he's still a young man. I was coaching him in high school just the other day. So I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your father and all the stuff that he's passed on to you from a knowledge standpoint and love standpoint as well. Because we can see the love your dad invested in you, the way you talk to people, the way you interact with people.
Yes, and aside from my father, there's also two other special persons in my life I have to put a shout out to. First one is for sure my high school coach, Coach Coutain, and the second one is Coach Roberto, because to them it might not seem as much, but just having somebody else that's not related bloodline with you and have that much faith in you, your belief, your education, and your passion, means more than you can imagine. And while I'm here, I do want to say thank you to you as well and to Coach Coutain because you guys showed us that a little belief can go a long way, which is why I am the way I am today. And I always will never put another one down.
No.
If you need help, I'll always reach out because sometimes that little faith you have in that person is that little spark they're missing. And don't be the person that turns off their spark.
Man, I appreciate you, Colin, and I know Coach Kuten's gonna appreciate that as well. Heck of a man as well. He's invested a lot in the community. Took Oak Ridge and really flew with Oak Ridge soccer. So tremendous job there. So now, moving on, so we can fast forward as we're nearing the end of this interview. I know photography is not just the only thing for you. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, what is it that you want to do as like that big project where you're like, now I can breathe easy. I think I've made it. What's that looking like for you as a project or something you want to do?
Eventually, I want to get to the point where I can start hiring people.
Hmm.
I feel like that is one of the end goals, not the end goal, but one of the end
Yeah.
goals to be able to have a to be able to create jobs for fellow people that are less fortunate.
Gotcha.
And by fellow people, I mean people that were in my shoe,
Hmm.
people that don't have it as easy as maybe we've been blessed
Of course.
with.
Okay.
I want to be able to create jobs for them, be able to guide them, because like they say, each one teach one. Don't
Yes,
just
sir.
keep the knowledge to yourself. So I feel like that would be one of my biggest accomplishments. And aside from photography, I do trade stocks as well. I've done multiple network marketing. I've dabbed my fingers in a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
which is why I always encourage people. Knowledge comes first because knowledge is power.
Yes, sir.
And don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to learn,
Hmm.
because even for those that are spiritual, even in the Bible, God do say the people die because of lack of knowledge.
Yep.
So
Yep, absolutely. So you got to invest in yourself. You got to do a lot of self discovery. You
yes,
have that self awareness that I hope people that are listening and watching this will get from you. And Cole, I'm gonna put you on the spot because I do want that to come across loud and clear. Can you tell our listeners and viewers how old you are right now?
I'm 25.
Yes, he's 25 years old. So that's always mind bugging to me. And I know you were just in high school the other day, and I'll always see that. But to hear the wisdom and knowledge coming out of his mouth, and it's a lot of experience as well, it's fantastic. I think all young people are the future, but when they can listen to someone like Kendall, Kendall Vision, basically, obviously, his business brand, I think you guys can benefit from it. You're never too young to invest in your education, your knowledge, not only to sound like Colin, but to have the experience to back up what you're saying. Because this is not just, oh, I read this in a book and now I'm going to teach it. No, he's been living it, doing it, and now you can benefit from that knowledge. So please invest in yourself. When he says it, he's living proof of those self-discovery, the investment in your education. It doesn't necessarily have to be college. There's so much out there in terms of how you can do the self-learning journey that you don't need to basically go pay $100,000 from a 4-year education standpoint. I'm not discouraging it. If you want to do that, great. But the bottom line is invest in yourself, learn, so that when you open your mouth and you're saying something, you're coming from a point of knowledge,
Correct.
from a point of data, from a point of facts, which this day and age is very hard to
It's
find.
very, very cool. And also, one piece of advice I've received till this day always stuck with me. This person I've done business with when I first started, putting my toes out there, he told me when somebody gave you an opportunity, say yes and then figure it out later. And that always stuck to me, which is why I have the belief that I could do anything. Because don't be the person that are always so pessimistic, because you just might miss your big breakthrough.
Nice.
If somebody comes up with an opportunity to learn, to expand your knowledge, to expand maybe your business, to expand something in your life, say yes, then go analyze it, go learn what it is about, then go from there. Don't be the type of person that immediately, shoots it down and carries on about your life.
Nice. I love that because basically that's gonna force you to step out of your comfort zone and grow, right?
Every time.
Every time, absolutely. Colin, we will definitely will talk again in the future because I would love to check back with you and see where you are at, especially in 2024. A lot of good things I feel is coming your way because again, you've put so much good into the universe. You're getting rewarded for all those great stuff you've put out there. But in terms of short-term goals, what are some things you're looking at closing out the year right now? Since we're in the last quarter of 2023 right now.
Um, it would probably be to get closer to family and friends, because at the end of the day, it's good that we concentrate on how to make a living, but our life is pretty short on this earth, and we all have a special date and a special place on the calendar for when death knocks at our door. And I speak that way because throughout my business, I've had the opportunity to witness a lot of unfortunate events, and certain people that were even younger than me,
Yeah,
I'm actually the one that's at their funeral
yeah,
taking pictures for them. And one of the most tragic recent events I've been at was this young man's funeral. He's around my age, 25, 26. And it was actually the saddest event I've ever been to the point where no one could actually console or could actually tame down his family. They
yeah.
just couldn't believe it. He simply went out there to Walmart to pick up something for the family, and he didn't come back. So that's to show you no amount of money can ever give you back the time that you spend with your family. So
Yeah.
always remember to put that first, because we are all on a ticking time clock.
Great perspective. Great perspective. Because again, at the end of the day, memories is what we gonna carry. It's not the amount
It's not the
in
amount
your
of
bank
money.
account, right?
Correct.
So absolutely, folks, you've been watching the Baptiste Show. We're gonna get the last words to Colin here. Great insight. You got to be able to balance things out. To sum it up, starting a business, you have to have a passion. You have to have the self development investment as well have to be there before you can even think of the next camera, the next thing that you'll be doing. It's very important that you actually make sure you develop yourself. You find out how you become better and more efficient, and above all else, you got to be resilient. That's what we've seen in Colin's story. Whether it was a soccer player shifting position on the field and whatnot, he's always being resilient. But Colin, last piece of advice for all viewers and listeners that are around your age, or any viewers or listeners out there, whether it's business, any advice at all, what would be the main takeaway from today's interview be for those viewers and listeners?
Final advice I would give, and it's something I try to take myself on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
would be that you have to be open to constructive or any kind of criticism. Um, that goes to say, don't think you know it all,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't. No matter how intelligent, no matter ex- how of an expert you're in your field, there's somebody out there that will always have that little piece of information that you do not possess. Like I always tell my siblings,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot see yourself outside of your own two eyes, but other people can.
Yep.
So you might think you're walking straight, but in reality, somebody looking at you walking towards a ditch. You
Yeah.
don't even see it. So always be open to the criticism and to see, okay, what can you do better?
Yeah.
Don't think you know it all, because you don't. I don't. He doesn't. Don't be hard headed. Always love one another, because everything comes down to that. How much in harmony can you live with one another?
Yep.
Not how much money you have, because you cannot take that behind you in a hearse when it's time to go.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Colin. Thank you for always answering the call no matter what. I appreciate you. Keep going, keep learning, keep doing your thing. And you always have me in your corner, man. I'm very proud of you.
It was a
Always.
pleasure to be here.
Thank you, man. All right, folks, you were watching the Baptiste Show. Again, we had the wonderful Kenolson Colin from KendollVisuals. So we'll put up his Instagram, his website. Please go and pay a visit to it. Even if you don't book today, but get to know him, because I think you'll find is an even greater photographer than he is, a guru, a motivator, but is even a greater human being. That's the part. You got to be a great human being on this earth. As much as it's easier to just be the next guy that suck up the oxygen in the room and don't produce anything else, it's far more better and much more rewarding when you're a great person that people want to be around. And Kenolson Colin is one of those guys. And Kendall Visual, I wish nothing but the best for him, and that his business continue to grow and prosper. And you, as a listener, as a viewer, you can visit him, Kendall Visual, and we'll continue a series here of interviewing local business folks, local entrepreneurs, so that they can provide their insight and perspective on things. You are watching The Baptiste Show. Always a pleasure to come into your homes. Thank you again. The name is Roberto Baptiste. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye bye.